Are you tired of spending too much of your hard-earned money at the supermarket? Are you dreaming of farm fresh eggs, homegrown veggies, and homemade everything? Well, welcome to Ditch the Store, where we break free from supermarket dependence and take back control of our food and household essentials. I'm CJ, and I'm here to show you that life is too short for store-bought eggs. So let's get started. G'day everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ditch the Store. CJ here on her own. Handy helper is home, but unfortunately I've just got over the flu, so I've been trying really hard not to cough throughout this episode. He has just caught my flu that I had. So he's home, but he is in bed unwell with, I want to say the man flu, but that's just being mean to guys. We all know that some guys are tougher and can fight through the flu and some guys can't, and yeah. He's probably pretty tough when it comes to fighting through the flu, but I've sent him to bed so he doesn't cough and sneeze in the background. Episode 126 this week. I still can't believe how far this podcast has come. Thank you all for listening because I really do appreciate it. And we are talking homemade laundry products this week. And it's something that's pretty dear to my heart. I have always been a little bit sensitive of certain products on my skin. I'm not one of those fussy people who has to have the $100 moisturiser. I certainly only use Aldi moisturiser if I use moisturiser from anywhere. I wish I could convert completely over to tallow moisturisers that I make at home, which is the next probably thing on my list of about 100 to do. But I do get a bit sensitive with cleaning products. I do get a bit of a reaction, like a dermatitis-y kind of reaction. So laundry products obviously are a thing that if you're going to be sensitive to products that are up against your skin, unfortunately, washing your clothes in laundry products that may have certain chemicals in them is always going to be a bit problematic because you wear your clothes, it's up against your skin like for hours at a time. So any kind of reaction is more likely to occur under those circumstances. Whereas, wiping down a kitchen bench, you might get a little bit of dermatitis from a chemical spray, but the chances are you're not going to have your hands up against that chemical for ages. Whereas with clothing, you kind of can't get around it. I mean, unless you live in a lovely warm environment and you're a nudist, go for it, have at it. That's, I have no problem with that. I wouldn't inflict that on anybody personally, but yeah. At the moment here in southern New South Wales, we would definitely not be running around with no clothes on. It is probably, I would say, it's about 3 or 4 degrees outside, but with the wind chill and rain, it's probably about -3 outside. Certainly the animals are feeling it. Poor little Miss Peggy, who I'll try and post through the week some of the goats. They're so fluffy with their winter coats at the moment. Poor little Miss Peggy has been coming up to the fence at dinner time when we go out to feed them their hay. And the look on her face, it's like the bottom lip is hanging out, if you can imagine a goat with the bottom lip hanging out. Because she's so frigging cold. And she keeps looking at the handy helper and going, but Dad, you said you were going to build me this beautiful goat palace and I'm still waiting. Because Dad doesn't have time to build a goat palace. But anyway, so homemade laundry products. Let's get into it because certainly, there's some things, and the more research I do about it, every time I go to do an episode, I think, God, do I know everything? Because, it's pretty hard to know everything about a topic. And so I'll go and look, and it's like opening a can of worms. You start digging and you just get more and more horrified the deeper you dig. Sometimes I kind of wish I didn't do that, but it's in my nature to do that. So I started digging and I understand so much more about why nobody wants to use, or why we shouldn't be using commercial laundry powders and liquids, but also why it affects me so much with my hands and skin and that. So there's a couple of reasons why you would go homemade. And I'm going to try really hard not to cough, but if there's a little glitch in the system, you'll know that I've had to pause it because I'm about to sneeze or cough because I am still getting over this flu. It's just a real killer at the moment. The couple of reasons that you want to think about transferring over to homemade laundry powders or liquids or anything like that, different products, because there's other things you can use as well for cleaning. The main one for me was the rising cost. I hate the idea of spending, some of them, it's like $20 or $30 for a big full litre thing of laundry liquid. Now, some of them are reasonably green, but when I dug a bit deeper, I was like mortified that even the ones that say they're green aren't necessarily green. Skin irritation obviously was the big one for me. I don't like using the commercial ones if it's going to irritate my skin. I kind of feel like I'm being jibbed, that I'm paying for a product that then goes on to actually affect me in a bad way. It's kind of like buying junk food and going, I don't know why I'm getting fat and unhealthy. I don't know. You're paying for it and it's still making you worse. But also chemical overload in the environment, which was a real big one for me. Excuse me. Ooh, that was a yawn instead of a cough. Chemical overload into the environment was a big one for me. And I know I probably come up against some people who disagree with me, and I'm fine with that. I don't think everybody can have the same opinion. I don't believe that climate change is happening the way that the people who are trying to make money out of climate change reckon that it's happening. But I am very strongly committed to not polluting the environment and not making my immediate environment worse for the fact that I'm living in it. I think that is something that so many people in society just really don't get. They go about their life just living exactly how they, think they should, and the way, well, I can buy those products and use them because I've got the money to buy them and use them, and why shouldn't I? But then they get on their bandwagon about things about climate change, and it's like, your immediate environment is fucked because of you, and yet you're screaming about the fact that, somebody should be putting solar panels up over their paddock instead of raising ruminant animals on their paddock. It just doesn't make sense. So chemical overload in the environment, for me, is a huge one. And this is from somebody who is a self-proclaimed climate change denier. So, yeah, go figure that there are people out there who are ranting and raving about climate change but aren't prepared to make any changes in their own personal environment to fix it. Anyway, that's my rant for today. So doing a DIY version of laundry powder, and I use powder, not liquid, but let me explain, because it turns into liquid before it goes into the machine. But doing the DIY version of it, I'm still getting the same cleaning ability, but without all the chemicals going into the environment. And all our water from our laundry is grey water, so it all goes directly onto our lawn. It's not pumped underneath our lawn. It goes directly onto our lawn in two of our front paddocks, like an area that our dog Roxy lives in, and another area that we sometimes use for housing sick goats or kidding goats. We put them in there because it's a safe environment. It's fully fenced. So we have the grey water running straight onto that. And the grass is always beautiful and green. And I put that down to the fact that it's not chemically laden water. It's dirty water coming out of a washing machine. And yes, it does have some chemicals in it, but the chemicals that it has in it are bicarb and washing soda and sunlight soap and occasionally some citric acid or vinegar and some essential oils, which would make it smell nice. So when I dug a bit deeper to go, well, why is it such a big deal about the laundry products? Like, does it affect my skin, and why would other people not want to be using it? I discovered a couple of things. So most contain some things, and I'm going to read this off because I will get the names wrong. Surfactants, phosphates, which phosphates we know used to be in a lot of laundry powders, and they've started getting banned in certain countries. Fragrances, optical brighteners. So these are things that don't actually brighten things. They just optically brighten them. So it makes it look clean, even if it isn't clean. And preservatives. And we did discuss before in a couple of episodes ago about formaldehyde being a preservative that's used in cleaning products. It's also used in laundry products. So surfactants, I can never say that properly, surfactants, which you'll see sometimes as SLS on the back of a cleaning product, they strip natural oils. But in doing that, they can actually strip natural oils in a detrimental way, and they can irritate skin and lungs, and some of them do break down into potential carcinogens. Now, I hate saying that because everybody seems to say something is a carcinogen. I can remember reading something where somebody said if you barbecue meat, the chard outside of the meat becomes a carcinogen. I'm sure there are lots of things that are carcinogens that never actually get to a point where they're actually going to make you sick or cause a cancer or cause an illness or anything like that. So I don't like saying that, but potential carcinogens. So it can be something that can cause cancers. And one of them that they suggest is a chemical called 1-4-dioxane. which is really, really common in laundry powders. Go figure. So you're washing your clothes, and I talk about next week, I'm talking about dishwashing. Dishwashing does my head in, but clothes washing is the same. You're washing something to make it clean that you're then going to put up against your body for 8 hours, maybe 12 hours at a time. If you're wearing clothes for 24 hours, because sometimes when I've been out bush, I have been in the same clothes for 24 hours. So it's up against your skin for that long, and you've washed it in chemicals that aren't good for you and can be a carcinogen. Go figure. Now, there is a group, and I had to look up what it was because I kept seeing this EWG. EWG is the Environmental Working Group. It's an American non-profit organisation that looks into research and advocacy in areas of agricultural subsidies, toxic chemicals, drinking water pollutants, and corporate accountability. I think I like these people. They're making people answer for what they're doing. So they do a scoring chart that they use for detergents and soaps and things like that. Now, the scale is A through to, I think it's F. Just let me scroll down for a sec. Yeah, F. So A is the safest and F is the worst. And many of the widely used laundry detergents that are for sale in the supermarkets score between D and F, according to them, which means, and it's because they're allergy and toxicity risks, which means they're shit. Essentially, they're crap products and you're paying for it. And you're paying good money for it. Some of the brands, and I don't want to name brands because I'll probably end up having somebody send me a letter saying, don't you dare talk about our brand like that. But some of these laundry powders, we're getting Fs, and they're really common laundry powders and liquids that are sold in the supermarket. And looking at it, you go, fuck, it's like they're really not good. So the other thing that I found was that the phosphates issue. So phosphates have been banned in a lot of countries in laundry powders, and Australia is one of them. We've banned them. But phosphates contribute to nutrient pollution, causing algae bloom and harming aquatic life. And that was where it was the big issue for Australia. So much of our wastewater and runoff water goes out back into the ocean. And because of that, when you are dropping water back into another water body that's full of chemicals that cause, algae and cause, issues for aquatic life, we started seeing a real impact from it. So Australia got smart and banned them, and so now they have to be phosphate free. One of the first brands to do that was a brand called, I've got it written down here. Oh, where is it? I had it written down here, but I can't see it. Oh, Seventh Generation was one of the main ones to first start doing it to get rid of the phosphates. And they're a really good laundry powder. It's a really nice laundry powder. If I had to use a commercial one, that would probably be my choice. And they were one of the first ones to ban the phosphates. But phosphates are now banned in Australia. And I don't know what the situation is in America. If you're in America and you're listening to this, send me a DM and tell me, is it banned over there? I can't see why it wouldn't be. I mean, I don't think water should be used coming out of laundry systems should be going out into the ocean. I think realistically it should be going onto grassland because it will filter through the soil, and the yuckies in it will kind of dissipate when it hits the soil, but you'll still be getting some moisture into the soil. And in Australia, where we have so much issue with drought, it would really be a good thing. It feels weird talking about drought at the moment. We've had 4 days solid of rain. I got bogged coming up my own driveway this morning, coming back from dropping the kids at school. The tank is filling up. Even Luna has taken to hiding under shelter, and the Merrimer never goes for shelter. She will lay out in the rain. But we do have drought in Australia, and so any water coming off laundry really should be going into the ground to help the water tables. And we don't want it full of chemicals to do that because it'll kill the soil, and the soil is important. You can't grow shit without soil. So the other things in there are fragrant chemicals, which we talked about last week when we talked about essential oils, fragrant chemicals versus real essential oils, the difference to people. And the optical brightness, which does my head in. So these things make fabric look brighter and whiter and cleaner, even though it's not actually getting it clean. That's the premise behind it. Those things are endocrine disruptors, so they'll affect hormones. So anybody with any real sensitive hormone issues would probably not want to be using anything with those in them. They stay in the waterways. They do not come out of the waterways, and they can often trigger eczema and dermatitis, which is what I used to get from using commercial laundry products. Sensitive skin studies show that exposure to the chemicals can worsen dermatitis and allergic reactions, even with the gentle brands. And I've got some studies that I will link into my blog post that I'm going to post tomorrow that covers off on those. There are some studies out there that show that it is much, much worse. So when I spoke earlier about the Environmental Working Group, they are a group that is a non-for-profit that just go around and they test things to see whether or not people are complying with the standards they're supposed to. And they have a guide called the Guide to Healthy Cleaning, which is awesome. If you're at all interested, just Google EWG Guide to Healthy Cleaning, you'll find it. Their grading system, as I said, it goes from A, which is the safest, which is minimal and no known hazards, all the way down to F, which is the highest concern. And they list that as linked to health and environmental issues like asthma triggers, skin allergies, reproductive harm, and aquatic toxicity. Sounds great. It sounds like something you want to wash your clothes in. Anyway, so the thing that I found that kind of scared the crap out of me when I was looking into all this is the EWG have listed a whole bunch of common laundry detergents. And like I said, I'm not going to name them because I don't want somebody sending me some nasty letter going, you bad-mouthed our brand. But I would definitely strongly encourage you. In fact, I'll try and link it in the show notes to go and have a look at that website. They list that even gentle or green labelled laundry products contain the following: fragrant blends, undisclosed mixes of fragrances that will impact allergens and hormones. Sodium lauryl sulfate, so SLS, or sodium lauryleth sulfate, SLES, which are both linked to skin irritations. And I can remember years ago somebody saying to me, don't use shampoos that have SLS or SLES in it because it can impact your skin if you've got skin issues. So, yeah, they're still in them. Optical brighteners, which are petroleum-derived chemicals that can cause rashes and are not biodegradable. So they don't break down in the waterway. They stay forever. And preservatives. And now it doesn't say formaldehyde, but I know that there have been ones in the past that use formaldehyde. But the big issue for the EWG is preservatives like methyl-lisolazole. I can't even pronounce it. And as soon as I can't pronounce something, I automatically go, if it's a chemical I can't pronounce, you really should be questioning why it's in there. And it's a well-documented skin allergen. So it's a preservative in laundry powders and liquids. So when you consider that many of those top-selling supermarket brands are getting a D or an F on the report card from the Environmental Working Group scale, which meaning that they're flagged for skin irritation, hormone disruption, and environmental pollution, aquatic pollution, when you look at making homemade powders and laundries now, it definitely becomes more appealing. And if you are somebody who is concerned about the environment, like I say, even though I say I'm a climate change denier, I am very open to conversations with people who are very staunch believers in climate change. If you are, you have no excuse not to be making homemade laundry products if you are concerned about the environment. Because what I just read out is seriously so many cleaning products. And knowing that, if you are still choosing to wash your clothes in those kind of products, really, you're going to complain about climate change while you're doing that? I think you're probably a little bit hypocritical. Anyway, the laundry powder that I use, and I'm going to go through it in a sec. The one that I use is, I make it at home. All the products are available, easy to buy. There are a couple of things that you may need to consider whether or not you put large quantities in, and I don't. Some things I leave out. But it's essentially bicarb, washing soda, salt, and sunlight soap. Now, I know you're all going to go, but sunlight soap, you're using sunlight soap. Sunlight soap is probably the least offensive of all of the soap bars. And the handy helper at the moment, because I haven't had a chance to make up another fresh batch of soap from my goat's milk and honey soap, the handy helper's been using sunlight soap in the shower, as well as myself, and we've not had a problem. No skin irritations, no issues. It smells nice. It gets you clean. It works. But those products that I'm using to make my homemade soap, when I went and had a look at the EWG's ratings for all of those, they all come in as the following: no synthetics, surfactants, preservatives, optical brighteners, or chemical or fragrant chemicals, minimal potential skin irritation according to them, and no phosphates or petrochemicals, which means they're gentler on septics, grey water systems, as well as waterways. So if you do have a grey water system, you can be rest assured that that kind of laundry powder, the homemade laundry powder like that, is not going to bother it. Now, the thing is, there are a couple that come in at that top rating for the EWGs that you can buy in the shops. And those brands, I'm happy to say those brands because I'm sure that they don't care about knowing that they're the better ones. Molly Suds, which I think must be a US brand because I'm not aware of that one. And 7th Generation Powder, which I am aware of, that is commonly available here in Australia in Woolworths and Coles. Now, the thing is though, they're not cheap. They're expensive. They're probably up there with the most expensive of them. And the homemade laundry powder that I make is fucking dirt cheap. So this is little, CJ with her, tight ass, not going to spend any more money than I have to hat on. I would make my own rather than go and buy it if I had to. If you have no choice and you can't make it, go buy one of those brands because those brands will be good. Now, for the rest of you who want to make it, here's my recipe that I've been using for some time now and not had a problem. Our clothes come beautifully clean. MJ is, as you know, anybody that's been listening for a while, she is a rugby league and a rugby union player. And as I said, we've had rain for the last 4 days. I have photos of her from Saturday's rugby union game where she has muddy water dripping down her face, and she was covered. Her entire uniform, her socks, her boots, everything was covered in mud. They're all perfectly clean now. One wash. I soaked them overnight and then washed them with a normal wash, and they're all perfectly clean. So this is my perfect recipe, which will be in the show notes. 1 cup of bicarb soda, which is sometimes called baking soda, but I buy it in big orange bags from Costco. 1 cup of washing soda. Washing soda I buy in smaller bags. I'm yet to find a big supplier. I need to find a bulk supplier for it. Smaller bags from Woolworths or Coles or even Bunnings sell it. And I'm actually looking because I think Bunnings would probably have a bigger bag of it. If I can find a bigger bag from Bunnings, I'll post something about it. Salt, just normal salt. Now, I buy a 20 kilo bag of salt from Costco and keep it in a container at home because I use salt for preserving. So I use just that salt. It's just basic salt. It's not rock salt. It's not fucking special sea salt. It's not Celtic sea salt from the Himalayan mountains. It's just ordinary salt. And 1 bar of grated Sunlight soap, or the equivalent natural bar. Now, hot tip there. Sunlight soap is a little bit expensive. It's a little bit more expensive. It's not as expensive as some of the other things, but it can get up there sometimes. Handy Helper and I did a little bit of a, test run, and we bought Coles brand yellow soap bars. I actually think they're called yellow soap bars. And the yellow soap bars are essentially Sunlight soap. I reckon they're probably made in the same factory, knowing what I know about manufacturing now. They are very likely made by the same company with the exact same ingredients. We looked on the back of the boxes. We lined them up, the Sunlight soap and the yellow brand Coles soap. And they have exactly the same ingredients in exactly the same order. So I'm going to guess they're made by the same people. I was able to get one of those boxes of 4 blocks for $2 something, and it was half the price of the Sunlight soap. So even though I love you, Sunlight soap, you are the most beautiful, and I love the smell of Sunlight soap and all the rest of it, these ones smell just like Sunlight soap. They are almost identical in every way. Sorry, had a little cough then. They're almost identical in every way. Like I say, the ingredients are exactly the same. They broke up exactly the same. They worked beautifully. So a bar of grated Sunlight soap. Now, to grate it, I don't stand there and grate it. I did try it once, and I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I am not patient enough for that shit. I have a Thermomix. Yes, I'm part of the Thermomix cult. But even if you have a good, solid, strong blender, cut the soap into cubes, into 1 centimetre cubes with a big, heavy knife, and then chuck it into a blender or Thermomix and blitz it on like a 9, which for people that have got Thermomixes know that's the top speed, for maybe 30 seconds, and you will end up with a powdery version of the soap bar. It's just like little granules, and they break down so much easier. So don't grate it. Don't try and grate it. I have done it. It's painful. It's messy, and you end up with soap everywhere. Blend it, blitz it in the blender or in the thermo, and then I put my bicarb soda and my washing soda and my salt into the thermo and blitz it again so that it gives it a really, really good mix, puts everything through. Now, optionally, you can add, that's generally what I use for my laundry powder. I don't generally use citric acid. Now, I've heard that citric acid can cause some skin irritations sometimes. It's also really hard to get in larger quantities. I've only ever seen it in the little round tubs at the supermarket. And so I'm trying to work out where to get it from. But it is good for stain boosting. So if you have particularly dirty washing, it's probably not a bad idea to chuck it in. And you only need 2 to 3 tablespoons of citric acid into all of that other stuff that I just said. So 1 cup of bicarb, 1 cup of washing soda, half a cup of salt, and a bar of Sunlight soap. 2 to 3 tablespoons of citric acid, and you have a super power washing powder. Like, it will get rid of the dirtiest of things. Now, to that, you can add a couple of drops, anywhere between 5 and 15 drops, even up to 20 if you really, really like the smell, of either lemon or eucalyptus essential oil. You can put lavender in if you were washing, say, if you're doing sheets, towels, things like that. Lavender might be nice. If you're washing things that are for outside clothes, you can put peppermint oil in because that's a bit of a natural insect repellent. But lemon's very good at grease cutting, so anything that might be greasy or sweat stained or anything like that. And eucalyptus obviously is very, it's a nice smell. I just like the smell. I don't care what properties it has. So you mix it all up. I don't put the essential oils in until the very, very end when I'm mixing it all up. Stir it all well into an airtight container. So close it off in an airtight container. Now, all I did was I kept, and I've posted a photo on I think the cover of this episode, no, the cover of the blog will have the photo on it for the laundry powder. The pink scoops out of the nappy sand containers, I used to always keep them because they're just a really handy size. So a scoop like that, which is it's probably 2 tablespoons in all honesty, in it. If you heap it, it's a 2 tablespoon one. And here's my trick, because everybody goes, but the powder doesn't break down in the washing machine. I have a top loader, not a front loader, because we're off grid and front loaders just they need more water pressure. So we have a top loader. I have a 2-litre plastic jug that I keep next to the washing machine. I put a heaped scoop of my laundry powder into it. I have a wooden spoon that's just an old crappy wooden spoon. In that, I bring it inside the house because our laundry is out on a veranda. I fill it up with hot water. So hot water straight into it, not cold water, hot water, and stir it vigorously with the wooden spoon. Take it out and I pour that into the washing machine. And I have never had a problem with any soapy clumps or clumps of like washing powder or washing soda or bicarb or anything like that being in the wash. It all breaks down beautifully. You can make it up in advance and it goes kind of a bit jelly-like. So if you know you're going to be washing the next day and you want it ready to go, tip it in, put the water in. The water will go cold and like I say, it'll go jelly-like. It might even get a bit of a soapy layer on the top of it. But so long as you've got the wooden spoon in there, give it just a really good mix before you pour it in the machine and it will be fine again. Now, it will work with front loaders as well as top loaders. I have checked that. Bicarb soda reduces the bubbles, the fizz. And so, like, it fizzes up initially, I know, but it won't make it super bubbly, which means it can go in front loaders without any worry about suddy overflow. So that is my super laundry powder that I use. Now, why does it work? Because everybody would go, oh, but, is it really going to get them clean? Bicarb is a odor neutralizer. You can use it in the fridge to neutralize odors. You can use it on carpet. If you've got pets inside and the pet's had an accident on carpet, bicarb soda onto the carpet, wait for it to dry, vacuum it off, and believe me, the smell will come out of the carpet. Bicarb also softens water. So if you're on hard water like bore water or tank water that isn't being filtered or anything like that, and we use tank water, we're just on straight up rainwater. But if you're on bore water or well water or anything like that, bicarb will soften the water and make it easier to wash in. Hard water usually doesn't get clothes quite as clean. I had, growing up, we had bore water, and bore water really, we used to have to put a lot of washing soda into the machine on top of laundry powder to get the water to kind of relax enough to wash. So the washing soda adds some cleaning power to it as well. Salt softens, but it also helps lift stains because salt is a irritant, so to speak. Like it draws things out. If you put salt on cabbage, it draws the moisture out, that kind of thing. Sunlight soap will offer that kind of gentle soap action. And like I say, if you're only paying $1 for a bar and that is making, God, what was it? It was making 500, it was over 500 grams. I think I weighed it was about 700 grams it made with 1 bar of soap. So if you can make that much powder with 1 bar of soap, that's pretty good. You're still doing okay. Now, the citric acid, I don't always use it, but I am going to make up separate ones for when we've got really dirty, muddy clothes, and I'll put citric acid in that because the citric acid, it helps with mineral deposits, so any kind of sweat stuff or anything like that, but also it'll help brighten clothes. So citric acid is a really good stain remover, and for things like MJ's dirty old rugby stuff, it will definitely have an impact on that. Now, so that's laundry. Let me have a sip of my tea so I don't cough all over everybody. Fabric softener and soaking options are the next one. Because, I mean, laundry powder's great and it works for the most part, but sometimes you just need a little extra boost. Really, really simple. So simple, you will not believe it. I have not used fabric softener now in 8 years, I think. And I wasn't even a big fan of it then. It always used to make my clothes smell chemically perfumed, which I'm not a fan of that smell. So, a natural softener for clothes for washing machines. 1 cup of vinegar and 10 drops of your choice of essential oils. Now, if you didn't listen to the essential oils one, go back to episode 125 last week and have a listen to essential oils because I go through the ones that are the best ones to use. But my favourite, like I said, lavender, if you're talking about bedding, towels, linen, things like that. But there's no reason why you can't use lavender on clothing as well because it is a really nice smell. But also eucalyptus, lemon, whatever smell you like. I mean, there's a million other essential oils as well. So if you have one that's a real favourite for you, put that in and use that. 1 cup of vinegar, 10 cups of essential oils. Now, you can just make it up in a bottle, like a 1 litre bottle to keep next to the washing machine. And I've got to be honest, the amount of like that amount, 1 cup to 10 drops, so 4 cups and 40 drops of essential oils, that would last me for so long because you really only need about, it's like a capful in the washing machine. So that amount is going to last forever. You're never going to run out. It'll probably go bad before you use it all. That would for us. But sometimes I don't even bother with the essential oil. I just tip white vinegar straight into the rinse section of the machine and use that as a rinse aid. Now, my mother-in-law, who's a mad washing fanatic, would be mortified that I do all this. She doesn't like the idea of using white vinegar as a softener, fabric softener or rinse aid because she worries about it damaging the rubber linings in the machine. I have been using just vinegar as a rinse aid for over 6 years and never had a problem with any of the seals in any of my washing machines. And I've only had 2 in that time. One was a super old front loader that I'd been using for like a decade. And it died eventually because the water pump died, not because of the seals. And the one that I've got now is secondhand to us. And it was probably 5 years old when we got it. And we've had it for 4 years. And it still runs like a charm. The only issue it ever has is with water pressure because it's being pumped to downhill. So that's your natural softener taken care of. Now, stain soakers. Warm water, bicarb, and then a splash of vinegar, or if you don't have it, lemon juice. Now, the lemon juice obviously will have a nicer smell to it than I don't mind the smell of vinegar, so it doesn't bother me. But Put that over anything, particularly heavy stain stuff. Soak it into a tub, in a bucket, whatever you've got out in the laundry. Put all that in there. Leave it overnight is my recommendation. So warm water to start with, but leave it for as long as you like. Overnight is really good. Then rinse it and wash it as per normal. 90% of the stains will come out. If they don't come out, you can do a spot stain removal. And I do that by, in a sink area, I will, preferably not dry, but not sopping wet clothes, damp clothes, and I will sprinkle a couple of tablespoons of bicarb soda directly onto a stain and then pour vinegar directly onto the bicarb soda and leave it sit. So no water, just bicarb and vinegar. And some of MJ's dirtiest rugby clothes have come back to bleached white, like they are bright white, just from that, without any loss of any of the colour patterns on the jersey, and without any damage to the fabric. Works a treat. It also works on the handy helper's collars on his work shirts. I put bicarb on that, pour vinegar directly onto it, and leave it sit, and it lifts all the sweat and yuck out of the collars. Now, vinegar does soften fabric without residue, and the best bit about vinegar is it is grey water safe. It's a natural product of the environment, and it will not harm soil. It will not harm plants. In fact, there are some plants that do better with a touch of vinegar in them. Blueberries, I'm looking at you. So there's some plants that really thrive on that. If you pour directly vinegar onto lawn, yes, it will go yellow. So it's probably better if it's going through a grey water system, because then it will be diluted. Now, skin and environment and frequently asked questions is what I had next. Will it work in cold water? Yes, I only wash in cold water. I use hot water to dissolve my soap before I pour it in the machine, but we do not use hot water here. We do not have the energy capacity off-grid to be heating water for washing up. The only time I will use hot water for washing up is if I'm washing an individual item that I'm soaking, and then I'll use hot water if I know that hot water is what it takes to get the stain out. But otherwise, everything we wash gets washed in cold water. Sensitive skin, because the only fragrances going into it are essential oils, you can pick and choose. If there's something that irritates you, then don't use it. Otherwise, most of those essential oils are skin safe and they're not going to impact skin. So if you are somebody who has eczema, or you have people in your family that you care for that have eczema, then using essential oils are the way to go there. Clumping, humidity, and hard water. Everybody always says that to me. It must go into big clumps when you put it in the machine. Nope. I mix it with the hot water before I pour it in, and I've got to be honest, I've never pulled the washing out and gone, oh, look, there's a clump of washing soda. I have had that happen where I have sprinkled it directly into the machine and had freezing cold water going into the machine. But 9 times out of 10, the agitation of the machine will break up any of those clumps. If the clumps aren't getting broken up in the agitation, then it's probably not agitating your clothes enough to wash them. Just going to put that one out there. Hard water, like I said, washing soda, citric acid can be a good one too for breaking down that kind of thing. And something that I did find in research, because I don't use a lot of the citric acid, but for lime scale, so where you've got water stains and things like that, citric acid can be very useful for that as well. So that's a good one. Machine safe, yes, it does not make an over voluminous amount of suds, so it's not going to overflow, and it won't void any of the front loader kind of, the special machine warranties, because all the things that are in it are things that would normally be in soap powder anyway. It's just that it doesn't have all the extra chemicals in it. And I think that's it for this week. Yay, we made it through, and I didn't even cough too much. I am really trying hard to get over that flu. So just remember, you can make your own soap for half the price of what you can buy it for in the shops, even less, I think. I should actually go down and work out how much it costs, but honestly, because I buy everything in bulk, it'd be like 50 cents of this, 50 cents of that, $1 of that. The essential oils are probably the most expensive thing, and you're only using 10 drops. I wouldn't use probably more than 5 or 10 drops. So it's going to be a couple of bucks for 700 grams. Maybe a couple of bucks, maybe $3 tops if you factor in everything. what I would say to you is have a crack at making some and test it on stuff that is maybe less important to you first and see how you go with that. If you've got really precious, delicate fabrics, maybe don't try it on that first. I can remember washing lingerie that I owned back in the day when I didn't just have farm clothes and actually had nice clothes, with Sunlight soap by hand. And it was honestly the best way to wash that kind of fabric because it's so gentle, that soap. I mean, it's gentle enough for your skin. It's going to be gentle enough for delicate lace. But if you're washing, things like lingerie and you think, oh, I don't want to wash that in the machine and I don't want it with hard, chemically kind of factors in there, go the Sunlight soap. Use Sunlight soap and see how you go with that. Now, I will try and put some of those links in there. And next week, we are talking about natural dishwashing solutions. And this will be interesting because I've not actually made some of the tablets up because I don't have a dishwasher. My dishwasher is MJ and OJ, age 15 and 13, who can wash dishes. If I cook, they wash up. If they cook, I wash up. So one of us does the washing. But we still have a recipe for it. And obviously I have a liquid detergent recipe for soap, for dishwashing soap as well. But I have a recipe for the tablets. So I want somebody out there to try the tablets for me. If you are keen to try the tablets, let me know and I'll send it to you. Anyway, that's it for me for this week. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I hope all the farmers that are getting all this big dump of rain in Australia that we're getting at the moment are happy. We did need it. I'm almost done with it now. The tank is getting fuller and I'm ready for it to just a little bit of sunshine. When you live off grid and you're dependent on batteries and solar panels, it's really hard when it's raining. It's a love-hate relationship. We love the water. So glad the tank's filling up. At the same time, we are over the water and the tanks are full. And can we get back to some sunshine to make the grass grow and to power the batteries? That would be awesome. Anyway, that is it for me for this week. I will talk to you all again next week. Bye for now. Well, that's it for today's episode of Ditch the Store. If you're loving the journey to self-sufficiency, be sure to subscribe. You can also leave a review for us or share this episode with a friend who's ready to break up with their supermarket. If you've got questions or success stories, we'd love to hear about them on the socials. You can also find me at www.mojohomestead.net. Until next time, keep raising, growing and making. And remember, life's too short for store-bought eggs.